introduce our speaker for today. And our talk today is called Tech Tools for Nonprofits Applicable to Rotary. Our guest speaker is our own Rotarian, Terry Lowe. Terry is CEO of Byte Technology, a website design and development company. His company was established in 2001 in Monterey, California by Terry and his brother. They now have 3 offices, one in Monterey, one in Lakewood, Colorado, and the third here in the Twin Cities in Edina. You'll like that, Tim. Terry's first experienced Rotary International as a group study exchange member to the Middle East. He was a Rotarian in California for 6 years before joining our club and is a Paul Harris Bequest Fellow. Born in San Francisco and raised in Daly City, Terry received his college degree in biological sciences and previously worked in Silicon Valley at the University of Phoenix before starting his own company. Terry and his wife live in Shakopee, where they are raising 2 growing sons. Our program today is named Tech Tools for Nonprofits, and a large part of its content is a result of a nonprofit techs conference Terry attended in March. The event gave out 50 scholarships, free scholarships for attendance, and our club and Terry was fortunate enough to be a recipient of one of those scholarships. The conference focused on ways to help nonprofits leverage technologies that will help boost communications, fundraising, IT, leadership, and programs. Having been a Bloomington Noon Club Rotarian since November of 2013, please join me in welcoming our speaker today, Terry Lowe.
Well, thank you everyone for allowing me to present some of the findings from this amazing event that I went to. It was a 4-day conference in the city of Austin, and it was my first time there, and the culture, the food, the people are extremely warm, friendly, and delicious. Really, really good. So they had a great location. This nonprofit technology conference was put on by N10. It's a nonprofit technology network. They are nationwide. So they had this event at Austin, and the objective there was to bring thought leaders, people in technology together to showcase, learn, brainstorm, and continue to grow the nonprofit sector success. The information was not necessarily specific to any nonprofit. So what I'm going to present to you today are some of the findings that I think would be very useful for our club. I also know that we have some nonprofits here today that could benefit from the information. So though I may be gearing some of this specifically for Rotary, the reality is it works across the spectrum. Very good. So one of the things that was heavily talked about was online and more importantly, websites. There were digital strategies discussed in areas of mobile communications as well. But what I'm going to try to do today is focus on websites with the understanding that we have about a 20-minute window for the presentation. So before we get too much further, let's talk a little bit more about websites. The great thing that I see in the Rotary world is that there's a lot of opportunity for growth when it comes to technology. We're steeped in a lot of tradition, which is fantastic, and it's worked for many, many decades. But there is a new evolution in how people receive their information. And that's done heavily now through email communications, online, through your telephone. We have our club runner, and so we do have a district website. We have our own club website as well, something that was revamped about a year ago. But what we're seeing now is that a lot of nonprofits and the for-profit sector is leveraging technology, and we can use technology to change the world. So in addition to what we're very comfortable with, there's a whole segment of the population that is very comfortable with going online. So for example, people check their phones up to 150 times a day. Now that may not be everyone in this room, however, the average statistics is that such because they're not only checking their email, they're checking online to go to websites, and they're also checking their social media platforms. For example, it might be Facebook or Twitter, and that's how they get their news. You know, a lot of us, we wake up in the morning, we have our cup of OJ, a cereal, a glass of milk, and then we open the paper. That's what we used to do. But you can get your information or your news reports all day long. So it's about up-to-the-minute information, and technology makes that easily available. The next thing is that 58% of people now have smartphones. And that number is going to continue to rise. I actually predict that number is fairly low in the US market. That might be a worldwide number, but it's probably a lot higher. So accessibility to information is only as far away as your purse or your back pocket. Next is that people are spending less time watching television and more time on their phone or portable device. Portable devices include both an iPad or a phone. And a lot of times people watch TV and play on their iPad at the same time. So the communication stream is always available, and that's an opportunity. Okay? So the 3 topic areas that I'm going to focus on are challenges that some Rotary clubs or Rotary districts may have at the moment, but I like to change the word from challenges to opportunities. There are 3 topic areas. Number 1, I'm going to talk about storytelling and the power of being able to share stories to create social impact. Number 2 is fundraising, one of our favorite topics. How do you continue to innovate in such a way that we can create, make fundraising actually fun? Kind of like the Ice Bucket Challenge that we had last year. Number 3, volunteering. You know, that's a hallmark of our club, is how do we get together, how do we engage others to help us volunteer and create a local impact and a worldwide impact. Okay? But first we're going to go ahead and talk about storytelling. In my experience with Rotary, I've been a Rotarian for approximately 8 years now, and whenever I attend a district conference, a major event, or even some of our club meetings, there are no shortage of amazing stories. DGs and even RI presidents love to tell stories. And so being able to harness the power of what we have here in our local district, 5950, there are approximately 3,100 Rotarians in our district. And you know, Rotary has been around since February of 1910, which isn't all that long if you think about it. There are some Rotary stories being shared right now, and that's through our national website. If you go to blog.rotary.org, there's a blog now that consists of articles, inspiring pieces that people put together from their Rotary experience. Now, the interesting thing about this blog is that it's international. People are submitting blog pieces. I don't know what the frequency is, but what I do know is that article contributors are from any Rotary club throughout the world. Now, it seems all of them are done in English, but what's inspiring is that is you have an international appeal. You know, people go to the Rotary.org website to find all kinds of information, but how many of you are aware that people are actually sharing stories in real time? You know, they're posting these articles and photos and sometimes videos. Videos are extremely engaging. So one of the ideas for our particular club was, or even within our district, was the idea about us creating our own blog. Now, yes, you can go ahead and post it to the RI website, and that's fine. But one of the things I've noticed about nonprofits in general is if you can speak to a particular target audience profile, and in our case, it's people here in Minnesota, and more specifically in the city of Bloomington, they can hear that communication a bit more in depth. It is more authentic, it's meaningful, and it's relevant to them. So sometimes the idea of being able to capture some of the stories that we have in our club, in the Edina Club, can be very compelling, and it helps to address the commonly asked question, what is Rotary? I've heard of Rotary, oh yeah, it's that club, right? And then insert sentence there. But how many people are aware of the actual projects that we do? How many are aware that there are opportunities to engage with us? And not sometimes, for example, with Strive, Terry, we affect a lot of youth, but how many of their parents are aware of some of the programs that are made available through Rotary in the Strive program? And I don't know, I'm not clear of the answer on that. But sometimes having a communication vehicle like a blog can be very relevant. Now, sometimes the question is, well, great, a blog is fine. I've heard about blogs all over the place, but who's going to write them and who's going to read them? That's a great question. Well, there's a big evolution in online content. The reason why is because Google has decided that it's going to base its natural organic algorithms on unique content. No longer is it about just keyword stuffing and modifying page titles. People want to be found and they want relevant results. And so there are a lot of innovations when it comes to what, interesting and compelling ways to communicate. And so in this sample here, you can do short bits. Sometimes, for example, there's a social media platform that puts out 6-second videos. Is that, what is the name of that one? Vine, yes. It's a very, very popular platform. But I'm going to suggest a slightly longer than 6 seconds, because that's very, very short. Maybe even 30 seconds. So imagine this. If the 30-second video piece talked about, or it could be a written piece, what was the moment that reminds you why you participated in Rotary? And I've actually heard this story several times, not necessarily in this format, but my goodness, sometimes it can bring you to tears how closely connected they are to a particular service project, or how they got introduced to Rotary, or the first time they provided a vaccination to a young child abroad for an international service project. Simply amazing. Abul, I'm sure there are many stories that you can share with us in regards to Rotary and the impact that you're doing in India. Video is also a very engaging platform because if you're looking at the statistics on Facebook, it is currently outpacing in terms of share. So share means if you see a video, you can hit a share button and then you can share it to everybody within your network. Those are the type of posts that are getting blasted and communicated out. Now that's another thing that I'm very familiar in the Rotary world, is that we're not necessarily so good at sharing. We meet on a weekly basis, we're here in this room, and it's wonderful. And maybe we have about 1 or 2 degrees of separation when it comes to how far the Rotary influence goes. But in an online environment, through video sharing or through article sharing, you can touch one to many, as large as your network is. So for example, Dawn, let's imagine you have 300 friends on Facebook. The moment that you share that out, they all have the potential to be able to see that. But in addition to seeing the video or the article written, there's relevance because Dawn shared it. It's not something that's randomly coming into their inbox that they can delete on a Monday morning. It's something that they'll most likely want to click on, especially if Dawn's in there singing or doing something. But other user-contributed articles can be around saving lives, improving education, feeding starving children, a lot of what this club is trying to do. Now, during Mary's year, if any of those objectives change, a lot of the content that's generated by the club and club members and maybe club spouses or some of the nonprofits that we're associated with can have vertical alignment. That means we're talking specifically about an objective. Everything's going around that, and the reason why that may be important is it'll be useful for marketing, and I'll explain that a little bit in a future slide. Now, sometimes people are a little bit shy. I don't want to go on camera. I'm going to be completely frozen. I don't know how I'm going to be able to say anything in 30 seconds. Not everybody has to participate. There are some people that are doing this. Have you seen these types of videos? There's no audio whatsoever, but my goodness, the story can be impactful. In 30 seconds, here, this one's 8 minutes, but that's okay. Just imagine it being 30 seconds. You are dropping down cue cards, and you're allowing the audience to read, and it's silent. It's just a matter of you floating through the cards. What at the end of the year for Dave, maybe he can post some cue cards on what was his experience like to be a Rotary president. There are a lot of people that are fearful about becoming president, but to hear your perspective at the tail end of that tunnel might be very insightful. So it benefits not only the community at large, but within the Rotary network. Okay, how am I doing on time here? Okay, all right, I'll keep going here. I'm going to go a little bit faster. So in addition to the blog and the storytelling, so let's not use the word blog necessarily. It's about sharing stories. Blog just happens to be the technology platform. You can join a community of social change leaders. Having the blog exclusive to just our Rotary Club is one way to do it, but you can be more inclusive. we engage with a lot of nonprofits, and having them participate in the blog or the storytelling website can be another amazing opportunity. The Rotary District, right? So we can think small but act big. No problem there. We can excite, engage, participate, and garner support. You can see on the upper right of this screen here, on the Rotary blog, there are 2,576 followers, which means anytime a new article is posted, they get an automatic alert. There's a new article, go check it out. Can you imagine if we're able to generate a large following that would be waiting and anticipating and expecting new articles to come out? We can also target content, which I just mentioned. If there's a specific group or a segment, audience population, maybe it'd be, let's imagine, expectant mothers. And we have Rotary stories around, compelling stories around how you were able to help, expectant mothers, or Rotarians that were expectant mothers, so on and so forth. You can target that content to specific audiences. And remember, we have a Google AdWords grant. The Google AdWords grant allows us up to $10,000 in advertising. So if we want to use these stories or videos to share and market to these people, we have money readily available. And right now, we're underutilizing that. And that's where content is key. Content is easily shareable. And of course, you can also syndicate it on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. On the right-hand side are topics that are on the Rotary Blog website. And you can categorize a lot of these posts. They have here, for example, aiding disaster recovery, building community, developing leaders, so on and so forth. But that's all customizable. And it makes it very easy whereby when somebody comes to the website, they can actually search for the topics of interest and really delve in and get in deep. Okay, the next one that I want to chat about with is fundraising. So fundraising is probably top of mind for 100% of 99% of nonprofits out there. It's we have this ongoing challenge. How do we innovate ourselves? How do we make ourselves relevant in a way that things like our signature event it no longer becomes stale? How do we create an energy around it that would make everybody want to participate? And so here are a couple of really innovative and cool ideas that I saw. Number one, Kickstarter. Who here has ever played with Kickstarter or is aware of what Kickstarter is? Okay, excellent. Could you share with us your experience with Kickstarter?
My experience was through a different nonprofit organization where for the first time in about 11 years, young students, mostly juniors and seniors in high school, were going to be touring to Spain with the Gitsi Symphony. And it had a price tag in order to go. And so when reintroducing touring, we offered a menu of items for the students to consider doing some of the fundraising on their own. And one of them included the Kickstarter type of campaigns on the internet. However, the big caveat to the person who was an expert in this area said, you can't just stick something up on Kickstarter and hope that people will stumble across it and give you money. You have to then push that out to your network to then say, hey, I'm going, and you can push it to relatives, families, friends, Twitter account, etc. They said, if you just put it out there, although we hear about these miracle, raising millions of dollars for X, Y, or Z Kickstarter campaign, typically there's a lot of effort on top of in this particular case, the students. The only thing I don't know is whether any students decided to do that method and what their success was.
Okay, thank you for sharing. The idea about that formula, having a content piece and then blasting it out there to the masses. The same thing applies for the blog piece, but then also for the Kickstarter type campaigns. So the Kickstarter campaign, there's a website here that you're seeing here as a Kickstarter. There's an example project that they have here is help tell the incredible story of Wilma Mankiller, a Cherokee leader who defied all odds to make a difference. And so this Kickstarter campaign is around helping to fund the completion of a movie to help tell that story. So currently they have 192 backers with a pledge of about $154,000. And so it's attracting the right people who are passionate about what she's trying to do, but though they may not be directly involved in the project, can make a financial contribution or perhaps even volunteer. So this is an innovative idea in that it can apply to the Rotary world. in each one of the Rotary clubs, we have special projects. You know, for like we have our Pack to School. There was a sign-up sheet that was going around for that. But you know, if there was money that needed to be raised for that, you could either one, put that on the Kickstarter site, or number two, we could have a Rotary 5950 Kickstarter, our own Kickstarter page. And so what we would do is put all the Rotary service projects in there and allow people from the community and from Rotary to help support that financially or through volunteer efforts. You know, as a Rotarian in this club, I'm very aware of the projects we have, but not necessarily Rotary clubs in my neighborhood, right? And yes, in theory, I can go to into the District 5950 website, but you have to do a lot of digging. So this one here, Kickstarter, it's very focused on people who have a need and people who want to raise money. So that could be a very innovative idea for our club. The key here goes back to storytelling. If you can effectively tell them why you need the money, how you're going to use the money, what kind of social impact it'll have for everyone around us, they'll be more inclined. Otherwise, it's kind of after the fact. Hey, yeah, Rotary, we did this cool Pack to School project. Few people hear about it, and then we kind of just keep doing that every year. This is a way to make it feel like an atom bomb. Everybody knows about it, and there's a much more inclusiveness. I thought this was kind of interesting. Now, I don't know how the club would take to this, but these are idea starters. A Rotary Shark Tank. And I was just involved on a foundation committee, and we were trying to decide with our $33,000 who was going to get what. And it was, we had a small group that was, reading all the applications, but how could you make it fun? This innovative show here, the Shark Tank, in theory, a Rotary version can be created. Now, there's some marketing to it, of course, but it could be for, hey, our Rotary district here, 5950, has $10,000. And so we're going to invite 10 local nonprofits, and they're going to come, and we're going to film this whole thing with the help of City of Bloomington and make this thing a production. And so everybody becomes aware, well, what does Rotary do? So in addition to these 10 nonprofits maybe getting $1,000 or $2,000 each, the community gets to be entertained and learn about the programs, learn about nonprofits and Rotary. Wow, it's not an innovative idea, but it's something we can leverage that is already an existing platform. The next thing is GiveMN. So we're very familiar with Give. Hopefully everybody here is familiar with GiveMN and Give to the Max Day. Give to the Max Day was huge for Minnesota, and it's I know that, for example, Wildcat Sanctuary up north, it's a nonprofit that specializes in providing rescue homes for wild animals, cats specifically. That's their major fundraising day, GiveMN. There's also a Giving Tuesday. And so the Giving Tuesday is going to be on December 1st. But this one's different in that it's a nationwide campaign. Hey, everybody, it's Tuesday. This is Giving Tuesday. Be philanthropic. Feel free to give to the charity of your choice, so on and so forth. We don't have one for Rotary. Do we have a Rotary Giving Day? Is there a specific reason why we might give on that day? If it's eradication of polio, maybe it's a clean water project, something in alignment with Rotary International. Maybe it's just specific to District 5950. But I don't think we have a Give Rotary. And wouldn't it be, and so again, these are not innovative ideas, but these are things that are available, that are on the table, but we may not necessarily be leveraging. And they're very, very easy, except for the part around marketing. But the good thing, again, is that we have a Google AdWords grant for $10,000 that will give us that firepower in order to help us market. Okay. Pinterest. The next one here, Pinterest can be an amazing social platform for sharing as well. And I don't know if Rotary is currently utilizing that. I know that this club is not. And this is how. Pinterest, typically you post on there to share photos and such. But did you know that Relay for Life also uses Pinterest to help share relay fundraising ideas and tips? So instead of one club doing the same fundraising over and over again, we actually have a central point where all Rotary clubs from throughout the world can post up innovative ideas for fundraising, which include photos, which include stories on how they effectively fundraised. And so then you have this endless melting pot of new ideas. So typically we get a lot of the ideas from internally. I know there's like a fundraising meeting and we do a lot of brainstorming. But this way here, it's a collective whole from all the Rotary clubs. So again, you can think of it either from a Rotary district level or a Rotary international level, district level, or club level. But what it does is it also institutionalizes it. You have this documented, you know, and so they do a very nice job, and you actually may be able to garner some interesting ideas and tips from for Relay from Life. Last thing I'm going to go quickly here, bidding for good. So with our signature event, we usually have, fundraising event, we usually have silent auction items. Well, a lot of people, what they're doing now is they're also posting those same items to bidding for good. So in addition to bidders just being at the event, you can actually promote this well in advance, get those numbers up, and have people who cannot make it participate. And there are a lot of bargain hunters out there on the internet, and they're looking for, you know, amazing auction item deals. So bidding for good is a great resource for that. And you're leveraging a third party in such that you don't have to build this thing from scratch. You can already get into an existing platform like bidding for good. Okay, let me go ahead through volunteering. I'm going to go through this a little quicker. Volunteering is something that we all do and we're passionate about, and we want to attract more people. Well, going back to the whole storytelling, if we have compelling stories, it gives people an opportunity to engage. And so calls for action in each one of these stories, or in anything that we do, ideally would have things that we want others to do. For example, it may be to volunteer. It may be to share, to syndicate some of that information through the social platforms. It may be to donate. You know, we want to get some money in, or become a Rotarian. You know, we just got a new Rotarian today. Congratulations, by the way. But this is a great way to be able to help grow the network, and the easiest is by sharing. The other one is that there's a wonderful third-party tool called VolunteerMatch. Has anybody here used VolunteerMatch before? Okay, so this is where the cool comes in. VolunteerMatch is a website that allows you to be able to post things that you need. If you need volunteers for a particular service project, or you need volunteers for an activity, you post your request on this website, and anybody who's interested can come in and contact you and say, I'm interested in volunteering. So it's very specific, and so you should probably put in there, for example, if it's through Strive, you're going to put the Strive program, helping Kennedy High School students, and you may find other volunteers outside of just your Rotary Club. Can you imagine if we're going to apply this concept to our Rotary district? What if we had something similar in nature and had a Rotary Service Project Finder? And so again, it's not just within our club, but the entire district. Anybody who wants to be involved in a Rotary Service Project, basically we'll post their project up here, and then people can search for it, Rotarian or non-Rotarian. We can even have Lions and Kiwanis search if they want to. And then imagine this. You don't even have to limit it to Rotary. If that's too myopic of thinking, we can just make this website here service projects for the entire state of Minnesota. Yes, it's sponsored by Rotary, and we manage it and take care of it, but any nonprofit that's interested in posting a project that they need help with, they can post it to our website. Okay? I'm getting close to the end here. Some other interesting things that I learned. If you're looking for volunteers, if you're able to get a Microsoft employee to volunteer in your nonprofit or through our Rotary Club, in addition to getting their expertise and their time, Microsoft has dedicated their employees in such that if they volunteer 1 service hour, Microsoft will also pay you $25 per hour. So if you get them to the Pack to School and for 2 hours, that's $50 per employee. I know there's a Microsoft store over at the Mall of America, but that's innovative. That's everybody is probably well aware of Bill Gates' contribution in the nonprofit world, specifically for polio, but he's all in. I mean, there are social enterprises that love nonprofits, and Microsoft is an example of one of them. The last thing I wanted to share with you, this is the article pertaining to that, that they've already raised $117 million. The last thing I want to share with you is this trend that Microsoft, I don't necessarily know if they're pioneers in it, I doubt it, but it's starting to take off. So for example, the last link I want to share with you is LinkedIn for Good. This website here is the equivalent of VolunteerMatch. So if you use LinkedIn now, you're probably well aware of the fact that there are a lot of professionals in there. Each professional has an area of expertise, and if you wanted to be part of LinkedIn for Good, you can use this portion of the website to find out who's in need of what and volunteer your expertise. Okay? So for example, Larry, what's your vocation?
Community development.
Okay, community development. Well, nonprofits could probably benefit from your years of expertise in community development. And if it's something whereby you can volunteer 2 hours, they may request, they're not going to request your help specifically, but you will find projects that could lend themselves well to your area of expertise and donate a little here and a little bit of there. And we all do that here now in our vocations. Hopefully everybody's giving back in some capacity, but now there's a structure. You know, Microsoft, LinkedIn, and who else knows? Maybe one of your companies could help to implement some of this social change. But as more and more of this is happening, it's opportunities for nonprofits to harness the power of professional expertise. And I think that would be highly beneficial for our club and the clubs throughout our Rotary District. So these are some of the little morsels of information that I was able to garner from this event, and I hope that our club will be excited enough to want to implement some of these things. So during Mary's year, I'm sure there's going to be, oh, there you are. During Mary's year, there's going to be plenty of time to talk about things that are relevant, and also during your year as our district governor. But if you have any questions at all, I will have this presentation available for the club. And if you want to ask me about things, maybe even specifically for the projects you're involved in, feel free to tap me. I'd be happy to help. Thank you.